Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. This article comes to you guys from Market Screener. I'll leave a link to it in the description so you guys can check it out. So now that the deal's approved, right? They got the DOJ to sign off on it. The FCC now approves the US Cellular sale to T-Mobile, right? So T-Mobile's acquisition is now approved. So what are the next steps, right? I'm sure some of you have questions in regards to roaming. And, for some, I do want to temper expectations because this is not like a massive merger where there's going to be new spectrum nationwide, right? This is more on a regional basis where T-Mobile gains more spectrum, more tower sites, more coverage. But for the most part, like example, El Paso, unaffected. Not going to get any extra towers and spectrum on this deal, right? Dallas and just some of the other bigger metros are not getting, T-Mobile's not getting additional spectrum, right? It's more regionally. Like when I was in Wichita Falls, that's an area where US Cellular has network coverage and spectrum licenses. T-Mobile will get some there, and then Oklahoma and some parts of California, just smaller regional areas is where this deal will help T-Mobile, right? So I want to temper expectations there. So the next step, right, is the closing of the deal. Now we got approval. Now T-Mobile has to close it, right? It's expected to close August 1st, and then the integration starts, right? Hopefully T-Mobile gives us an idea, an understanding of where they will be 1 year from now when the integration will start, right? I'm gonna assume here, because it's not public, but the spectrum piece, right, especially the spectrum that T-Mobile already has, the radios deployed on its sites, that's probably going to happen very quickly. I mean, almost instantly. We may be even spotting this before the deal even closes. It's very possible because it's just literally software, flip of a switch, so to speak, and then boom, you just turn on that spectrum on your network. You tweak a bit, you optimize, and then there's an additional either bandwidth or carrier depending on the situation. So that's the next step, the closing of the deal. Integration, I expect it to take between 12 to 18 months. And 18 months is pushing it, in my opinion. I think that's going to be very, very quick. And I'm talking about integrating all of the 2,100 sites. I'm sure a majority of that is going to be done within the first 6 months. T-Mobile said they're using synergy money to fund that integration. So it's going to be quick. I mean, this will be way quicker than anything that we saw with the Sprint merger. And that's because Sprint was much, it was at a much bigger scale. This is 2,100 sites. I don't want to say it's a drop in the bucket. It's still going to take a truck roll to the sites and, deploy N41 on the US Cellular site and all that. But it's not too tall of a task for T-Mobile, right? Especially if you look at the Sprint situation, they're still doing keep sites today, and it's almost 6 years in. So keep that in mind. After that, not much else. Now it's just time for T-Mobile to integrate and compete and figure out the roaming situation. Now, T-Mobile can either leave the roaming situation as is, or they can cut off AT&T and Verizon. That's probably very likely what's going to happen. In my opinion, I think they're going to end any roaming agreements with AT&T. Maybe there's still some obligation there for like a year or two, maybe, depending on what the agreement says. And T-Mobile will likely let that just, finish. And then I don't think Verizon and AT&T are going to be eager to renew because they don't want to make the competition better, right? They don't want to fund, because if you're roaming on US Cellular, you're pretty much paying T-Mobile, right? So that's just a few thoughts there, right? Especially in areas where T-Mobile is going to convert sites, there's going to be no more roaming for AT&T and Verizon. Trust me on that. So that's going to definitely end here in the short term, and I'm sure T-Mobile is going to talk about some of that at the quarterly earnings, and then hopefully we get a day where they just take maybe an hour or two to kind of just disclose the details of the deal and how they want to pursue But that, of course, remains to be seen. We don't have anything official yet. So let me know your thoughts on this deal now that you kind of know the steps. Again, it is not a nationwide deal. There's no nationwide spectrum coming. It's regionally at best. And it will help T-Mobile grow their coverage natively, and they're able to convert sites and have new coverage. So, and then of course FWA and all of that is taken into consideration with this as well. But there you have it, right? Close expected August 1st. Integration starts then. I mean, it starts now. Like I said, moving the spectrum is going to be software. It's a flip of a switch, so to speak. So it's not that big of an issue. So let me know your thoughts. Like, share, subscribe. See you in the next one. Peace.